That's why I don't smile with like. Oh, we got. Okay, this is the Board of Adjustments, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mouse is a good little mouse. And it's not a tough mouse, but it's a good mouse.
I'm sorry, that's for
For this purpose.
I'm gonna order you another one if you want.
No, I bought it cheap. And it, I can make it long. I can make
I've
it
never
long.
seen one of those.
Yeah, I had one with my
right now.
training computer out of the plant.
You want to trade seconds?
And I used it like a big one.
So you can go first.
You're in the hot seat. Except for
That's all.
Got to keep it sweet.
Very visible.
Okay. Give it the big clock up there. Mine's already saying 7 or 6, but that one's just kind of. Okay, everyone, it's 6 p.m. I'd like to welcome everyone to the City of Richwood Board of Adjustments meeting for Monday, July 11th, 2022. If you would, I'd ask everyone to please stand for the invocation and the pledges of allegiance. Invocation.
Dear Father, thank you for bringing us together. Please protect us as we go about our days. Protect our city. Help us to make wise decisions. Help us to remember we are all neighbors. We are all one. And we are all yours. We pray this through your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, thank y'all. Let the record reflect that all council members, with the exception of Council Member Strawn, are here at this time for this meeting. Okay. Do we have any public comments that are not dealing with agenda items? I don't know. Turn this down before it starts getting loud. Okay. All right. Item 6. Approval of minutes for the consent agenda. Approval of minutes from called meeting on May 9th, 2022.
Make a motion to approve minutes from the called meeting on May 9th, 2022.
Second.
Let the record reflect that Councilmember Mike Johnson made the motion. Councilmember Matt Yarbrough made the second. Okay, discussion and action items. A.
You gotta vote.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me. Councilmember Mike Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Matt Yarbrough, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Roy Escalante, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Carrie Mike? Okay, let the record reflect that the motion's carried. All right, public hearing and action regarding variance request to allow accessory structure within the side setback in a R4 rural residential district located at 31511 Bio Bend. I believe the owners are here to speak on this. So would you all please come up to the podium?
We do have comment.
Okay.
No, we don't.
Okay.
But they may.
Yes, ma'am. And sir.
Good evening. I know that many of us have spent a great deal of our time discussing the variance request related to our pole barn at 31511 Bayou Bend. I feel like I have made it quite clear that this was an accidental mistake and that it was never our intention to purposely be out of compliance with the R4 zoning setback. I don't want to sound like a broken record, so I will try to keep this short and sweet. Throughout this entire process, I have taken majority of the blame for what has happened. This is the first time we have ever built a house, and not only is the process stressful, it is also confusing for someone who has no prior knowledge of construction. I realize that a mistake was made on our part, but both my husband and I have been more than willing to work with our neighbors to find a more feasible and time-friendly solution than tearing down and rebuilding our barn. We need this barn not just for our construction project appraisal through the bank, but also because we have items that need to be stored in a barn. My husband has a tractor, a boat, lawn equipment, and various other items that can't just be left out on our property. Our efforts and openness have been well reciprocated by the majority of our 3 neighboring property owners. We respect Mrs. Calloway's concern. However, I disagree that there is any type of property devaluation occurring. I am not sure how anyone can validate that a 7.5-foot difference is going to have any impact at all to its neighboring property value, considering the structure is completely located on our property and not infringing on an easement or neighboring property line. Furthermore, the purpose of municipal zoning is to promote public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Nothing about our barn being built at 17.5 feet from the side property line voids any of the purposes of municipal zoning that I just listed, especially when you consider the fact that our main residence can be built in place of where the barn is. Not once has my husband or I asked to get out of this scotch-free, nor is that our intent tonight. We are just trying to identify a value-added solution that can be beneficial to everyone without placing such a large financial burden upon ourselves for the sake of compliance on an issue that poses no safety concerns or easement encroachments. Lastly, I want to finish by asking you this. Do you, as a member of council serving the city, truly feel that the current permitting and inspection process for an accessory storage building meets the appropriate level of integrity to ensure that the purpose and objective of the zoning ordinance is upheld? Can you sit in front of me here today and tell me that the process is designed well enough to ensure that errors are detected and corrected in a timely manner, eliminating the need to grant variances resulting from a mistake? Can you justify a citizen spending $83,000 to correct a violation that derived from a misunderstanding within a process that has no checks and balances to ensure accessory structures are in compliance? I'm fully aware that no process is perfect, but at minimum the integrity of the permit process should follow through the entire construction and inspection phase of the structure, not just the application review. If the answer to any of the questions above are no, then I hope you can agree that granting our variance is a reasonable decision given the circumstances, and take action to improve the permit process so that gaps are closed.
And with all that being said, I mean, we understand that y'all are putting things in place to where the permitting process is a little more streamlined to avoid things like this ever happening again, hopefully. Kind of sucks that we're the ones that had to bring that, kind of for us especially, but I mean, like she said, we've tried reasoning and everything. We've offered to build fences, and that's not going to be a cheap solution either. But I mean, as opposed to tearing a barn down that's fully 100% complete and moving it over 7 feet, I mean, let us do something that's property value added for everybody. It would be beneficial for Dina. Irma would have more privacy. She wouldn't be able to see the barn as well. I mean, it's not a cheap solution either way, but I mean, that would be, I feel like, the best solution. I think that's just about it. We appreciate your time.
Any questions from the council?
I was on the home plans. It lists future barn. I'm just still baffled on why the barn was constructed first and then the residence. Because all the plans say future barn, and then the residence is there listed on the initial survey.
Yes, sir. So the point of doing this, it was so that we could store construction items and material, and we did wait to build the barn until after our house slab was poured and we were technically under construction of our house.
The reason that it says future barn there is because we have a different contractor for the barn than the house. So when our contractor for our house submitted for the permit, I mean, he doesn't have anything to do with the barn, so the barn wasn't included on his permit application. When I submitted the plans for the barn application, it was included on the site plans, and it was at the 17.5-foot setback on the plans that I submitted.
Okay.
Anyone else?
And also, I remember the city, I believe, sent a cease and desist that went unanswered for a period of time for the survey
For the home.
for the home,
The
It
form
was
survey.
sent-
the form survey.
Yes.
Well, we'd sent a failure from inspection after the foundation was inspected. We believe the builder disregarded it, and then once we realized construction was still occurring, then we sent a stop work order.
But with that being said, we were also given the green tag to continue, even though so as homeowners, we were never instructed on any of that until the day that stop work was put on our house. A month later, after this email was supposedly sent, we didn't receive a phone call, no email, and rightfully so. You know, we're not the ones handling the building process. Our contractor is, right? So, but with that being said, you know, we've never received anything. But our GC does have the green sticker that said he was good to go. Now,
Even though there was a disapproval, they weren't supposed to move to the next step of pouring the cement.
right.
For both the accessory and the main?
Just
Or
just the main.
Just the main.
We had green stickers and everything for the accessory. We just made a mistake on the setbacks. We thought it was 15 feet, so we went 17.5 to satisfy that plus some, right? Just to make sure that we were doing everything right.
And I understand that it was on there on the comments, but there was other things like the windstorm and the flood elevation that it just got, I don't want to say overlooked, but that we had much more conversations regarding the windstorm certificates. I was having to call the engineers and all that kind of stuff, and it just, there were so many things going on that it got lost in translation, so to say.
It was a mistake on our part, and we're
Yeah.
not putting that off on anybody else. It was. We would just like to find a solution that would benefit everybody, rather than tear down a very expensive building
Yeah.
and move it 7 feet to the left, 7.5 feet to the left.
Yes, I appreciate y'all coming forward. The discussions that we've had over the last month, I appreciate y'all owning it, not trying to, blame it all on the city or the process.
Yes, sir.
And I think, to me, looking at it for y'all's situation and future situations, I think what stands out for me is the fact that your main building could have been there. Could have been in the exact same spot. So, I think that's something that I would like to see change, is the setbacks matching for side easements for a main building and an accessory building.
Yes, sir. Again, I appreciate y'all's time.
Alrighty. So, any further discussion, council members, amongst council members, or questions to staff? I believe everything's been covered.
Are the Callaways here?
Believe so.
Is there any comment?
Would y'all like to have your chance to comment?
No, so my only comment was, when all this started, when I asked about setbacks, was as far as had they changed since I built? Because I was my own contractor on my home. And at that time, I had to go through the code enforcement process. I remember sweating and going through everything without a builder. I was my own builder. And with that being said, I understand the stress that they're under, but at the same time, there are those rules in place in a subdivision, and I had to follow them, and it's a 25-foot back. Yes, there is a 10-foot easement as well that you are picking on if that's the case in some form or fashion. And I understand that it's costly, but at the end of the day, it's not a home next to me. It's a big metal structure, and it does not have their opinion of property value, but I will tell you, I have had many comments about your resale property value, and I can also attest that to my real estate agent. So I'm sorry that it is causing all this, and that was not my intent. But if it's 25 foot back, what I had to follow, and if those haven't changed, that's also what they signed up for.
Thank you.
So there's no chance of compromise with a fence or anything like that? Does legal have a say on this?
No,
Sure.
I think the vote's pretty much all up to council on how they want to proceed.
Are we voting, or is it just?
There'll be a vote, yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's pretty much gonna come down to a vote. I mean, I think everybody understands what happened. They're admitting they violated the setback. I don't believe it was intentional. We have a council meeting agenda to discuss this further. So I'm gonna make a motion to allow the variance request for an accessory structure within the side setback in an R4 rural residential district located at 31511 Bayou Bend.
I had some questions regarding though, and maybe for legal as well. What precedence does that set moving forward? So I know we've done some variance requests where it was, okay, you're 10 inches off, you're 12 inches off. I believe the last variance request we had was for a metal building that they didn't apply for the proper permit, then had to apply for it, and then set it, and they had to, believe, tear down some of it that was started. So what kind of precedence does that set moving forward?
You're not setting precedent in this situation. Each variance that's done is up to council's discretion on whether it's granted or not. It's a case-by-case basis, so whether it's an inch or 15 feet, it doesn't matter. It's a case-by-case basis, depending on the facts. I don't think it sets any precedents. Now, again, the council can always change setbacks if they choose to, but a variance is exactly what a variance is. It's case by case.
So that's a question I have. I know there's a motion on the table, but the question I have is the meeting right after this, we are going to discuss possible changes to ordinance or adoption of ordinance 22-494. And I think right now we might have the cart in front of the horse, and maybe we need to have that discussion first and then come back and vote on this in case there is any changes for setbacks or anything involved with that. I don't want to make a ruling on something and then 20 minutes later say, but for future ones it's okay. That's my opinion.
Let me reread the language for the change. The language that we're adopting in this new ordinance does not have anything to do with setbacks. It has to do with definitions of accessory structure.
I understand, but it's the opening of a discussion.
Item B would be discussion of
The
zoning.
B is the discussion, but that's going to take public hearing and
Right.
probably
That would
planning
go,
and zoning.
that would then
committee
come
meetings.
back to planning and zoning, require a public hearing. So that's
something
not gonna
that's
happen today.
tonight, or maybe even the next couple months. It's going to take some time in public hearing before we can change zoning of a whole district.
Correct.
So that's gonna require, I think, 2 public hearings, or it's a process. So the action item or the discussion item in council is just gonna kind of give staff guidance on how council wishes us to move forward.
I also understand that the Oakwood Shores, they had a different setback. I imagine that was probably set prior to being annexed by Richwood. But is there somebody here from Oakwood Shores from the HOA that wants to make a comment?
I'm a former board member. I don't know if that counts.
You probably have information on what we're
Yeah.
asking though, if you do.
So I'm not abreast of all the details. I'll admit that going forward. But I will say that as far as the HOA, I would think the continuing board would be very concerned about rules not being followed. I know there was a difference in the setbacks on the side, and if I am correct, it happened 2008 when the city redid the setbacks for the city, and that was, as far as I know, the city supersedes anything the HOA says. So I guess not even when I was on the board was I aware of the difference or the discrepancy. But we would have to go with whatever the city says for the neighborhood. So I don't want to speak for the whole board, but I do know that that is something we struggle with quite a bit. A lot of people wanting to just do things their way and then ask for forgiveness later. I don't know if that's what's happened in this situation, because like I said, I don't know all the details. It sounds like that's what happened, and I know that the Oakwood Shores Homeowners Association would then have a lot of questions with the city if the variance is granted. And it might be for information purposes. How do we do this going forward? Because if another homeowner comes in, builds on another easement, then the and so at what point is the city then overriding everything the HOA says? Is that clear?
And from my research, the ordinance that sets these specific setbacks where it was enacted in 2006, which is prior to annexation. From what I can tell is that, in talking with Cliff about maybe how long it took for the annexation process, is that the city was approached by the developer saying, once we get finished, do y'all want to take it on as a city? And they created this R4 district prior to annexation, and that has always been the setbacks. We don't have audio video from then, so I don't know specifics. Discussion that was held on why they did it, if the HOA then had any input. It was recodified in 2015 with these same setbacks. So the setbacks in place have been there since 2006.
So I'm wondering if, I know one of our board members on HOA is also involved, I know, with city council positions in the past, and I'm wondering if there was no change in, I know we cannot change our CC&Rs, if I'm correct, it's a living document legally, so you cannot change that, but we have the guidelines where we can change and amend things, and so it's never occurred, this has not really come up yet, as a situation where it needs to be modified in the HOA guidelines. I'm pretty sure it's happening right now as we speak, going up to our legal department to have that corrected as well. But I think in hindsight, I was involved at the beginning of the process before any of this happened, the initial approval for the house. And so I do know that at any point, at any question in our minds is from the HOA that city supersedes most of what, everything we do. So felt like there's a little safety net as far as that goes, but I know that will probably be corrected going forward. So I don't know why it didn't happen before. I wasn't around then. I lived in Lake Jackson.
From the city side, prior to this issue on an accessory structure, and that's what I was explaining to Ms. Calloway, on a home, we do require a form survey, which is the survey done after your forms are put up, but it's never been required on an accessory structure, regardless of size. And when speaking to our permitting company that we contract with, it's because they don't want to put undue cost burden on smaller sheds or things that maybe cost twice as much as a survey. And so in talking with Eric and probably going forward, we decided that a certain square footage, we're going to require a form survey going forward to keep from this happening.
But HOA has requirements on their end that are supposed to do that as well.
Yeah. In our process, we did not require a form survey on any accessory structure, regardless if it's a tough shed on a foundation or a barn. It's all considered accessory. And the 15-foot building lines on plats is there, but we can't have multiple building lines on the side. It goes towards the main structure. So on accessory structures, the city decided to be more stringent on the setbacks. And so that's just where we are.
So for clarification, make sure I'm correct, the HOA can't necessarily supersede as in go less restrictive.
Right.
No.
But they can go more restrictive.
They can go more. Yeah.
So, so why is, I believe as council, I would want to give the residents, let them maximize their property they bought. And then the HOA, which already has to approve appearance standards and aesthetics, let them put in stricter requirements if they so choose.
And that's a good point, because we do not accept building permit or even like replats until HOA approval letter is submitted with packets, because we've run into issues, especially like on replats, where we get through the whole process where council's like, yes, but then HOA is not good. So
That's what makes it more confusing, is because the HOA approved our application, and in our application, we applied for the barn also at 17.5 foot.
right, and then the BBG came back and said 25 feet, and then we have confirmation from the homeowner saying we understand that. And so that came after HOA approval. So as far as the city was concerned, we thought the homeowner knew the new requirement.
Yes, ma'am. And just to reiterate, this was not an intentional.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I'm just saying as far as we go, as far as we know, because.
Yes, ma'am, we would not roll the dice on
Yeah,
something that
no, I
expensive
understand.
to try to get a variance for it. No, believe me.
We just don't have the staffing abilities to go out to each lot every and so that's why it kind of seemed like it was missed. It probably was. We just we're a staff of 5 in here, so.
So, I mean, it's my opinion that if the HOA prefers a 25-foot setback for accessory structures, I feel like that should, HOA's first step on building anything, constructing anything within Oakwood Shores, I feel like that should be enforced there. That way.
The HOA doesn't have ultimate authority. This city's not bound by an HOA. We have all kinds of subdivisions here that follow the same rules.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But one of the things that we do have is this process that we're doing right now.
Yes, sir.
And however, it's my feeling that the HOA, if they set these rules, they should set the rules to follow the city's rules, because we really, we don't just represent one subdivision. We represent this city, all of the citizens. And I can go back years and tell you that there's been a lot of things that have happened, such as houses built right on top of each other that have caused these setbacks to be set up. You don't want to have situations where you have houses that are too close because of fires. There's all kinds of different reasons that these laws have been set, and basically it's because something happened in the building process. And in some instances, and I'm not saying this, but in some instances, which I got a house right next to me, the builder or the person that owned the property snuck a second house in, and that before the council had the ordinances and to take care of that. So it's it's nice to have the HOA involved with that area. They have their purpose and everything, but when it comes down to it, it is the city's responsibility to ensure the safety of its citizens and to ensure that the laws that they have established are followed, simply because they're the ones with the past history. So we don't have HOAs for every neighborhood or for every subdivision in the city. And we can't just say, well, you know, it's okay if it's, you know, we have to make the rules for the city, for all of the citizens, for all of the citizens' safety.
Yes, sir.
So, but we do have a process here, the variance, that goes back even before I lived here, and I moved here in '83. And these things are case by case, situation by situation, and you utilize these folks up here that sitting on this council are trying to collectively put together some type of, you know, measure to either prevent a problem or to, you know, it's a fine line that they have to deal with, because not only are they dealing with your problem, they've got to deal with other folks' problems. If it's drainage, if there's drainage issues, if there's other issues that may be involved. But bottom line is, you know, we're here for the whole city.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to point out too that typically with a variance, at least since I've been on council, and this is my third term now, most variances, 99% of variances, are before the fact, before the building takes place. So the neighbors are pooled, like your neighbors were pooled, and permissions are granted, and as long as there's peace with all the neighbors approve, there's no problem getting that variance granted, as long as it's legal, safe, right?
Yes, sir.
And that's the normal.
Maybe whatever footage of the other person's property, maybe buy that, or the fence idea, whatever, you know. But that's going to have to come between the two parties.
Yes, sir.
And when it comes down to there's nothing that nobody can do, or there's no consolation between the two, then it comes to us. And it's one way or another, it's not going to make somebody happy. But we have to do what's best for the city as a whole. You know, there's a lot more to think about when it comes to just where a building's at. What about the drainage? And again, if it's positioned wrong and it's next to the other person's property, in my mind, it could cause problems with the, you know, that's just my opinion, but it could cause problems with the other person's resale value or property value. I've tried to stay out of the middle of it and tried to look at everything independently, as a judge would, and it's one of those situations where I do see the part where it's not just the building. There are other things, you know, other issues to consider. If you were to build a fence, if you were to, you know, are you going to build some type of drainage to make sure that the person's property's the other person's not affected on the other side?
Yes, sir. That's all.
And I've seen the barn, I've seen the area. So, but again, this particular situation, as Councilmember Johnson said, normally these things come up before the fact. Now we're actually being asked to be the judge and jury over a situation that has arisen, out of a mistake, and it's probably, you know, I would say, listening and reading everything that I've read, it was an honest mistake. But again, somehow we have to figure out, you know, somebody's got to be accountable one way or another.
I think one of the main questions we had was, you know, the fact that our barn has to be 25 foot off the property line, but our house can be built where the barn is at. And so that's where I question the, what is
The hell
exactly the
thing.
purpose of having that 25-foot setback as compared to the 10% of the lot width where the main dwelling can be? So is it for aesthetics? Is it, if that main structure can reside there, how is that any different than any other permanent structure residing?
Even if our house and barn were connected physically, it would still be okay. It'd be a detached garage. And then it's not what we're wanted to do, but I mean, why is it okay then?
That's a comment I would make, Mayor, to your comments about the safety easements, utility easements.
I think it was probably more aesthetics
From
to
what I
keep
can tell, it's
to keep a
aesthetics.
barn
more
or
of an
accessory
Keep it behind
structure
the house.
behind the main or at least somewhat behind the main residence, and not have it look like a really long from one end to the other end structure. And that's all the barns that I've seen out there. They're kind of located behind the main residence, not all the way, but they try to keep it as
That's what I can tell.
as behind as possible, so the footprint isn't as huge, because these lots are
These
on
are the
this
more
street a
narrow
lot
lots.
narrow lots.
Yeah, so it's a little
So
more.
now it's
noticeable.
just like a
So when you-
continuous row of 3 houses.
Yeah.
So when you come to lots that are a little bit smaller, and that's where the 10% rule comes from, 10% the width of the property. So ours is 172 feet wide, so we're 17 foot 6 inches off, so again, it would fall within the building setback.
And we have our house is 30 foot off the property line, so we're not,
On the other side, so
we're wide, we're not,
it's pushed over as far as it can go pretty much.
And to answer your question to me, number one, again, I would say, going back to the safety part of it, and if I were to be building a house, if it was my first house that I've built, because I've never built one, so, but I would have I would have made sure that where my barn was going to be is going to be far enough back to not, to make sure that everything's appropriately set on the property and aesthetically correct plus safe. Because a barn's a little different now. Some people do different things, but mostly you're going to find a lot of mechanical equipment. You're going to find weld machines. You're going to find oxygen acetylene rigs. A lot of folks have that. So there's a lot of difference between an attached garage and a barn. Now, some people do put stuff like that in there. And I've seen a bunch of them over the years as a firefighter that have realized that they made a mistake. I know there's one garage that we've done 3 times in the last 30-something years that has had a lot of ammonia, phosphate, a lot of fertilizer, things like that, ammunition, and I've been out there at least twice. So there is a safety factor, and again, the aesthetics and the safety, in my mind, comes.
Aesthetically speaking, though, I mean, I feel like the HOA with their 15-foot setback improved aesthetically our property, being the barn and the house and everything.
But again, it doesn't meet the city's requirements.
More stringent, yes, sir, I understand.
It doesn't meet the city's requirement.
Right.
I mean, I don't have a vote here unless there's a tie. But I will say this, I'm just trying to make sure that both sides are heard.
Yes, sir.
That you understand that, HOA, yeah, they have their rules.
Yes, sir.
But when it comes down to ordinances, the cities are the ones that you technically have to follow.
Yes, sir.
Mayor.
That's understandable.
Yes.
Go ahead and speed up the.
Yes.
the vote there.
We have a motion.
Okay, yeah, we do have a motion on the table. So I have a motion made by Councilmember Yarbrough. I don't have a second. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a second by Councilmember Langford. Councilmember Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Nay.
Councilmember Yarbrough, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Escalante.
Nay.
Councilmember Langford.
Aye.
So we have 2 nays and 2 ayes. Okay. I guess as mayor, I will break the tie vote with a nay vote. So the motion does not carry. And I'm very sorry.
So that being said,
Hmm.
they need to get advised on how they proceed.
Right.
Timeline.
Yeah. No need to,
I think that we should allow a reasonable time for resolution. And I don't know if I need to make this an emotion, but I'd say 90 days.
I think that's great.
I disagree. I think we go 2+ years on a commercial fence being allowed to not be fixed properly. Much more time on a $50,000 to $60,000 barn moved. You know, I think they, if I'm not mistaken, they put it in there. You know, they requested 18 months. If that's,
Yes, sir.
I don't know if that's what the timeline they got from builders, and I know they've been working to have different solutions. You know, what do they do? But I think 90 days is a bit extreme considering the circumstances.
I would agree.
Okay.
What do you make a motion on?
Do we make a motion? I mean, I was told this was
We would
city
need an action
staff.
on,
We would need action.
yeah, council needs to make action on,
Do you have,
on timeline.
if
So
you
if
have a
somebody wants to
time
make a
frame?
motion for,
Is 12 months, 18 months? What have y'all been told? I know y'all have looked at all those alternatives.
Well, it more comes down to financially what we can afford. We're in the middle of building a house. I mean, we still have money to pay for that. I mean, I can't promise that I can go get $83,000 right now to go move this. So I mean, and also, I mean, we're in the middle of a construction loan. I can't go take out another loan. So, I mean, it's gonna have to at least be after December, or until we finish, after we finish our house. So my hands are a little bit tied financially here.
18 months?
Yes, please.
You want to make the motion?
Sure. So I make a motion to allow 18 months for compliance with, or to allow compliance at 31511 Bayou Bend and their accessory structure.
Second.
Okay, I have a second made by Councilmember Yarbrough, seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarbrough.
Aye.
How do you, Councilmember Escalante.
Aye.
And Councilmember Langford.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that the motion is carried.
Now, everything as far as the house going forward, they're in the clear there?
their house is fine. They've complied, we've gotten everything.
And they can use the barn for storage until it's modified?
There's no occupancy certificate issued for the barn.
So another thing that we have a question on is we can't, with the barn being tied up in our finances and everything, we have to have a certificate of occupancy on that and the house with, you know, to the loan and everything clear to move forward with our loan process.
Well, they're two different permits, so the home will be granted, but with the stop work order issued and this being denied, then the CO won't be issued. Because if we issue a CO, then that's going against this variance request, this denial.
So I would move forward from there.
I mean, I would maybe
So I
suggest
just
speaking
move
to your
my, like,
work.
all my building supplies outside my front yard then? Because that's kind of what it's going to come down to, then it's going to look a lot worse then than it.
Well, I mean, I think that in the meantime, since the start work order, the supplies were allowed to remain. It's that no one can go in, nothing, we don't want people occupying for safety. I mean, it's just not approved yet. We haven't issued the final CO. I think the supplies have been able to be in there prior to CO being issued. I don't, it's really up to council.
Is your contractor bonded?
Like the barn contractor?
Mhm.
Bonded and insured? Yes, sir.
Okay, and they were the ones that were getting your,
We got the permit.
No,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
they asked us to get a permit.
okay.
That's not the right way I want to think. We made the mistake and we're owning it. But obviously it's gonna take a lot of time and money to pick this thing up and move it 7. Now, had this been brought to our attention before we poured the slab, and it was brought to our attention one day after, for some reason, it would have been a lot easier to move said barn over, but the thing is 100% complete. So.
Well, I would hope that maybe in this 18 months that you and your neighbors might be able to work something out between each other.
God willing, I mean, I'm willing to put up 6'6" privacy fence around 2 acres of land.
We offer shrubs, we tried to do everything to appease everyone.
Welcome to Richwood.
Just for the record, I read the variance.
Ma'am?
For the record.
Ms. Big was in there.
I was, okay.
Okay, yeah, okay.
She was one of the other property.
Yeah, I
We
read
had
the,
two yeses and one.
Yeah.
all right. Sorry, but thank you. And
Yes, sir. It is what it is.
okay. Public hearing and action regarding variance request to allow livestock, specifically one goat, to be kept on .344 acre lot in an R1 residential zone located at 233 San Saba.
So the Myers family is here to present on behalf of the variance.
Okay.
Their daughter is currently at camp competition?
State convention.
State convention.
State
She could not
convention.
make it.
Good evening, everyone. I do have something that my daughter wrote because it was just scheduled that the scheduling just didn't work out. She's at Texas FFA State Convention. I was not an FFA student, and this is all new to me. And this is her stepdad. I'm Tammy Myers.
I'm Adam Collins.
We're both educators, and this means it means a lot to us because it's my daughter, but it also means a lot to us. I'm sure you've read through everything for the future of other FFA students as well. This is from my daughter. Dear City Council, unfortunately, I am not able to be here with you all today because I am at the Texas FFA State Convention. However, I want you to close your eyes. I know this was probably a really long time ago, but I want you to imagine your freshman year of high school. Were you scared of the seniors? Were you scared of being picked on? Were you scared to talk to anyone? Open your eyes. Let me just say that my freshman year, I was so terrified to speak to anyone. One day, I was sitting in my Principles of Agriculture, Food, and Natural Resources class, and my teacher, Miss Mulder, said, "Does anyone want to join FFA?" At that moment, I started to wonder what FFA was. I knew that my stepsister used to be at FFA at Brazoswood, and she showed a lamb that she kept at her mom's, but I had no idea what other opportunities were in FFA. I decided to slightly raise my hand very nervously. Then she smiled at me. After a couple of weeks went by, she asked if anyone was interested in showing a rabbit. I remember thinking to myself, I have no idea how to show a rabbit, but then I decided to raise my hand. I began to meet the officers that were on the officer team for the 2020-2021 school year. After going to the chapter meetings, service community events, and showing my rabbit, around Thanksgiving time, I decided that I wanted to become a Green Hand officer. Becoming a Green Hand officer was the idea of seeing what it was like to lead the organization. As I finished out the school year, I decided I wanted to run for chapter office. I went through the process of giving a speech in front of our members, completing an interview with local businessmen and women, and completing a written test consisting of agriculture and FFA knowledge. During this process, I had mixed emotions. I was nervous, excited, and hopeful. As I sat in our chapter meeting with nervous energy, I heard my advisor say, "Kelsey, you have been elected as secretary." At this moment, I was thinking I really opened up this past year and challenged myself in many ways I had never done. Being a chapter officer gave me the opportunity to grow in my communication skills as well as my leadership skills. As my sophomore year began, I was enrolled in livestock production classes. This class was designed to teach students about the different livestock and how to properly raise them. We learned about agribusiness, animal health, proper handling of livestock, animal anatomy and behavior. My interest peaked in wanting to work with large animals. I planned to study animal science and veterinary medicine. Therefore, I decided I wanted to raise a market goat. There was an opportunity to sign up for a calf scramble at Rodeo Austin to help offset the expense of purchasing a market animal. In March, I participated in Rodeo Austin's Ultimate Scramble, where I ate some dirt and caught a calf. I was awarded a certificate to purchase a market animal to be shown at Rodeo Austin next year. I decided to purchase a market goat with my certificate. I am looking forward to building my showmanship skills, my knowledge of muscle growth in goats, along with animal health and handling skills. There's a tremendous amount of time spent to exercise, groom, and train my goat. Understanding the goat's strengths and weaknesses will help in the development of proper showmanship skills. I spend hours each day bonding, walking, and bracing my goat. Nutrition and exercise are also very important. As mentioned in the questions I completed for the variance request, market goats have very strict dietary needs and are not free-range foragers. I've put a lot of time and effort into researching select feeds and supplements to provide proper nutrition. Being granted the opportunity to keep my market goat project at my residence will ensure the likelihood of noticing any behavioral changes that could be linked to illnesses such as urinary calculi, which is like kidney stones. Keep him on a schedule and alleviate stalling and traveling expenses on top of all current costs. Being able to continue building a strong bond will ensure success with my project. As I move into the 2022-2023 school year, I will be representing Brazosport FFA as the Vice President and the Southwest District Treasurer. Not only have I enjoyed serving as a leader to develop my skills, I've enjoyed encouraging and helping others achieve their goals. It is my intent that this variance request benefits more than just me in the future. I wish that other FFA and 4-H members have this same opportunity. Sincerely, Kelsey Myers. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
And what she means by that is within our variance request, we did put some information in there. She did some research about other areas. So in the future, I know the variance request is a case by case, and we're requesting this for our property, but in the future, however we go about looking at something else for students in our area to be able to do the same by looking at minimum area requirements for mainly just FFA projects.
Because unfortunately, our Brazosport ISD does not have an ag barn for the students to keep animals for projects that they have on school property. And no future, speaking with Mr. Massey, there's no future plans to do so, unfortunately.
All right. Any questions?
Have we pulled the surrounding neighbors?
Yes.
So there's a,
Yeah.
Ms. Myers
Yeah,
created that
there's-
list herself and went to all of the neighbors that were sent letters.
Actually, my daughter went to all of the
Oh,
neighbors.
I mean Kelsey, I mean Ms. Myers.
Yes, Kelsey did.
You know,
That's the
she's
Ms. Myers
not here
that-
today, but
yes.
this is her project.
And then I
We
did-
support
I sent out my
100%,
letters,
but,
and I received two
Okay.
back, both in approval. One saying they were kind of ashamed of BISD for not having this facility, and they do, they agree with it. And I think we may have one gentleman here that was another affirmative, he's here today. But everybody that I mailed a letter to signed her petition.
All 10 neighbors within 200 feet of the house.
Yes.
Agreed.
The house right behind yours is 226 more. Did we get a affirmative back from them?
Everybody,
Everybody?
all 10. It included forwards to the side and to the back. It was 10
3
of them.
behind us, 3 in front of us, and 2 on either side of us.
Yes.
Okay, I got a question. What happens after this is no longer a 4-H project?
It goes to market,
He
right?
goes to market. So in August, she will show him at the Rodeo Austin. He will go to market. Whether he makes auction or not, they go to the market.
she's feeding families.
Okay. So
Because
no,
it's not a family pet
It's
after
not a
that.
it's not a pay.
No.
No.
So this is this is all 10 that I mailed, and this is the letter she presented them, and they signed off on her request.
Only one did we,
It's on a
see
doorbell.
Mr. Dunlap, he spoke to him through
Through the
his
Ring
Ring doorbell.
Right? I saw that. Thank you.
So
I
yes,
will,
Technology.
the Moore Street ones, those are the Moore Street.
Yes, on one.
I will say that other cities do have what they call, it's a permit for FFA projects, 4-H projects, and it's limited to a 12-month term also. So in the event that the city does decide to move forward in considering something different for our students in the area, that might be something to look at is, we would come to get a permit. It's limited to a 12-month term, but it provides opportunity to students. And we also included, I'm a very clean OCD kind of person. So we also included some verbiage from a couple of other surrounding cities that have sanitary condition verbiage in there as well, which I believe is very important, even for people that have large acres and stuff as well. So keeping things in a sanitary condition for all animals, I think would be great, a great addition to some of the ordinance.
And this is in a non-HOA community, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Let me see if there's any HOA input. Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion or any?
I'd like to make a motion to allow livestock, specifically one goat, to be kept on the .3444 acre lot in an R1 residential zone located at 223 San Saba.
Okay.
233?
233. Okay, I have a motion made by Councilmember Johnson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Escalante. Councilmember Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarborough, how do you vote, sir?
Nay.
Member Escalante, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Langford, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Okay. Let the record reflect that we have one nay and the remainder ayes. It's passed. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We had cattle.
So we said that,
We raised heifers.
oh, well, that's what she would like to do, but
Mrs. Myers,
they're
Ms.
very
Myers,
expensive, I hear.
have, get with Laura tomorrow about, there is a permit, the fees are, but we will just need a permit for the goat.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Okay, perfect.
Just call her tomorrow and she'll get you all the documents.
Yes.
Okay, with that, that adjourns this Board of Adjustment meeting. And then we will move on into the regular council meeting. Let the record show that we are adjourned at 6:56. Okay. Get my regular agenda now, if I can find it. Okay. Adjustments, council meeting. And we don't have to wait because we are
Way off on that one.
All right. We'll call the regular meeting to order at 6:57. And roll call of the council members are the same as for the Board of Adjustment. Do we have any public comments for the regular council meeting?
No.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to item 5, consent agenda, approval of minutes from regular meeting held June 13th, 2022.
Make a motion to approve minutes from the regular meeting held June 13th, 2022.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Johnson. Do we
Second.
have second by Councilmember Yarborough? Councilmember Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarborough, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Escalante, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Langford, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Okay, let the record reflect that all members present voted aye. Motion's carried. All right, we have a presentation for our KRB team.
Let me get back to the video. I lost it. And my sound's not working on these TVs, so I'm going to play it as loud as I can from here.
Okay.
So.
And you have the PowerPoint?
Yes. You want to do that first?
Please.
Okay.
Mayor and Council, tonight I am here on behalf of Keep Richwood Beautiful. I'm here to share and report on the most recent accomplishments of our award-winning organization. In April of this year, I was personally notified by Keep Texas Beautiful that KRB had won first place in the Governor's Community Achievement Award. If you're not familiar with that, let me give you a little background. For more than 30 years, Keep Texas Beautiful, in partnership with the Texas Department of Transportation, has awarded the prestigious Governor's Community Achievement Award to Texas communities for their outstanding overall efforts to keep their communities beautiful. The GCAA program has recognized outstanding communities since 1969, with TexTop providing landscaping award funding since 1985. The winners were honored during KTB's annual conference, which took place in Austin last month, with an awards dinner and presentation. Other winning communities included Salado, Lucas, Woodway, Katy, Canyon Lake, Grapevine, Rowlett, Allen, and Irving. This year, these 10 winning communities will share $2 million in landscaping awards from TxDOT, with the amount based on population size. The funds are used for landscaping projects along local right-of-ways. Community's environmental program is judged on achievements in 7 areas: community leadership and coordination, public awareness and outreach, environmental education and youth engagement, beautification and community improvement, litter prevention and cleanup, solid waste management, litter law, and illegal dumping enforcement. So with a score of 98 out of 100, Keep Richwood Beautiful pulled off a first place win, granting us $110,000 in monies for these upgrades. The application process for this award is quite extensive, and it took all of us at KRB rallying together to pull it off. There were 25 questions with exact word limits, photos and media to upload, and data and metrics to add. It was definitely a team effort. So before I go further and show you the pictures of the awards that we won in the ceremony, let me tell you a little bit about our participation in this year's Keep Texas Beautiful conference. We go to the next slide, thank you. So 2 board members and myself traveled to Austin, and we were able to network with surrounding affiliates like Angleton, Surfside, and Lake Jackson. And of course, it's not a complete Keep Texas Beautiful conference until you get a picture with Daryl the Barrel from TxDOT. And next slide, please. One of the pre-conference activities that we were able to attend was a litter cleanup in coordination with Keep Austin Beautiful. Along with Keep Laredo Beautiful, we were able to pick up 12 bags of trash in a parking lot under an overpass just down from our hotel. After the initial cleanup, could you go to the next slide, please? We learned how to complete a trash audit from the research firm Black Cat GIS. And the reason behind us going through these 2 bags of trash that we had just picked up was to teach us how to sort and classify the litter, and then we are able to upload that data into the Texas Litter Database. This database was created for Keep Texas Beautiful because of the need for a central database that organizes all trash and marine debris data. Keep Richwood Beautiful will now be using the STOP method while carrying out litter cleanups around town. STOP stands for Study, Track, Remove, and Prevent. The data that we enter into the Texas Litter Database will help this organization create a framework and regional plan for addressing litter, marine debris, and disaster debris problems. Next slide, please. I was also asked to be a speaker at the Keep Texas Beautiful conference. I shared about how small and rural affiliates can stay sustainable. We talked about the community garden and how it operates, as well as working with local businesses, city and community partners, and local schools to bring in volunteers and other resources for their affiliate. And yep, it's one of the slides that I use. Next slide after that. So it's not a conference without awards. Here are some of the awards that we won. So for the third year in a row, KRB is a Gold Star affiliate. Gold Star recognition is the highest status that any affiliate can achieve. To achieve this status, affiliates must share information on their mission and goals, answer questions about their economic development, diversity and inclusion practices, participate in the Beautify Texas Awards, Governor's Community Achievement Awards, and provide a letter of support from their community. KTB formally recognized the Gold Star communities during the conference this year. Next slide. The second award that we brought home was the Sustained Excellence Award. This award is presented to affiliates who maintain a score of 90 or higher on their GCAA application for 3 years in a row. And then next slide. And then finally, at the awards dinner, we were presented with our first place win for our population category in the Governor's Community Achievement Award. You can see us pictured there, along with First Lady Cecilia Abbott. We were absolutely thrilled to have this honor bestowed upon us, and we are already making plans for using the $110,000 in funds that will go to landscaping upgrades along the right-of-ways in Richwood. Now, I've already thanked them several times, but I want to publicly thank Eric and Kirsten and Chief Mayor for accompanying us to the awards dinner and being there to support us. It really meant a lot, and we appreciate all of you making the trip to Austin. I also want to thank Audrey Johnson and Amanda Reynolds, who also took about a week of their time to attend this conference and learn more Keep Texas Beautiful ideas that we can implement here in Richwood. So I've already told our board members, but this process with TxDOT will easily take a year or more, if not longer. Soon we'll be in contact with TxDOT architects who will engineer our project, and from there it will need to be approved and sent out for bid, which takes time. So just know that we are diligently working on this, and you should expect to see some progress in the near future. And the next slide, please. So I just wanted to share our slogan for Keep Richwood Beautiful. We can't continue to grow and do bigger and better things for Richwood without the help of the city and its residents. It takes lots and lots of manpower and really hard work to pull off successful litter cleanups, landscaping projects, community garden maintenance and upkeep, citywide events, and volunteer opportunities. So I want to challenge everyone watching on the live feed, everyone here today, everyone sitting up there, to commit to help at least one event in the next year. Bring your family, bring a coworker, come see how we do litter cleanups, how we manage the garden, how we put out flags, and how we pull off large city functions. If each of you came to one event and volunteered, it would make our jobs easier and make Richwood better for it, because you and me, we are KRB. And so I just wanted to kind of close this with a video of a video. Bear in mind that at some point TxDOT will send me the link, but TxDOT produced a video for us as a winning city. We'll get that soon, but what we're going to watch today is just a video of a video that they played at our awards ceremony. It's only about a minute long, so enjoy this.
And the volume's going to come from my computer because the TV is not cooperating.
So I just wanted to kind of close
If
this.
you can. Sorry. I already got my live stream going too. My bad. Let me get out of here. Close my live stream. I like to watch it. Okay.
500. The winner is Richwood. Yeah. Access to big city amenities and the benefits of a small town. The pride of Richwood is its public parks, schools, and the new Richwood Community Garden. In 2021, the Community Garden donated more than 330 pounds of fresh produce to locals struggling with food insecurity. The garden also uses drip irrigation and raised beds to conserve water. KRB has also planted native landscaping and organized community cleanups at city park playgrounds. Keep Richwood Beautiful strives to create green spaces which entice people to live, work, and play.
We have all worked incredibly hard to achieve this win, but we couldn't have accomplished any of it without our volunteers. Keep Richwood Beautiful engages its residents to pursue a vibrant and appealing community. This can only happen when our residents show up to make a difference. Each project we embark on creates a positive ripple effect, and that in turn makes residents proud to live, work, and play in Richwood. After all, our slogan is, you and me, we are KRB.
Well done, Richwood. All right.
All right, so we were super excited about that. Unless you have any questions about that, the last thing I wanted to do was just get a picture with our plaque that was sent down from Keep Texas Beautiful, along with our board members and you up there, if we could.
I gotta be careful where I don't fall and break my
You just stand right up.
Yeah,
I just stand up.
And then we'll come in and
Oh,
we'll
okay.
and I'll take a picture, step in, and then up.
No. We come down there, or
Council here, we'll have the committee.
How about whatever you think?
Council up there.
it's up to you. It's up to y'all.
Easier to see. Everybody.
Come on in.
Yes.
We can stand on our
You're right up
tippy
front,
toes back
Christina.
here.
Well, you got your wide angle lens for me?
See everybody? Yes, I can see everybody. Everybody found a little window. Kim? Kirsten, you should be in one. No, I'm in another.
Thank you all very much.
Oh,
Yep.
nope.
Oh, you gonna pull it out for me? Pick on the old man.
He only likes to roll one way.
I was gonna say, who made this thing?
I know, it's like the wheels only go one way.
Before y'all leave, I'd like to say thank you and
Yes.
express my condolences to Janet, because Gary was such a big part of KRB, such a big part of the community. It's a lot different, not seeing you guys out there walking around together, and I really appreciate everything that you guys did for the community the past many years, and just wanted to get that out there.
Thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Y'all are the best, the brightest. and we love you. I mean, I can't say enough good about you, because y'all do make this city. You show the citizens that there's people out there willing to give their time, and you also show them that there's people out there, or you also make this city shine. And we've had teams in the past, and we've had people that I speak about fondly that tried and spent a lot of time working on it, and they worked just as hard, and they're proud of you.
Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you as well. I would like to say thank you, Kim, the rest of KRB. I can remember a couple of years ago, Kim brought an idea of putting a community garden up here, and I think we were all a little bit like, that's some big city stuff. What are you talking about? We had a lot of questions about liabilities. Would it get messed with? And can't think of the word I'm looking like. People up to no good up there messing things up after y'all's hard work. And I think y'all have had very little of that, but it's been a good thing for a couple of years going, and seems to be a big highlight for this. And so, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate that very much.
Okay, moving along. Tell you that one there just does my heart good to see those smiles. Y'all have done it excellent.
Thank you. We really appreciate that. I hope you're proud of us.
Oh, very much so. I'm just sorry I haven't been as much of a part of it. Okay, discussion and action items. Item 6. Discuss and consider an option of ordinance 22-494, amending Appendix B, Section 7, additional provisions to include accessory structures.
Mayor and Council, one of the things we looked at with the situation at Oakwood Shores is, are we doing the best we can do in the permitting process? Laying existing provisions aside for each and every zoning district that we have is unusually difficult. You're trying to manage into a funnel something that's very hard. You should, a lot like the variances that Philip spoke of, look at each as a case-by-case basis. And in this specific instance, one of the things we realized is the size of a lot of accessory structures now are getting bigger. The old days, if you had a tough shed or a little metal building that you put your lawnmower in, that was it. And I think those days are slowly disappearing. Not to pick on your shed, Mike, but there are certain instances where you will see 120 square feet and up buildings, and the reason why we chose 10 by 12 on that is that anything bigger than a 10 by 12 is required to have a permit within the city. Still did not require a form-based survey. So what we're bringing you tonight is the additional provision in our zoning ordinance for accessory buildings. Anything larger than a 10 by 12 on a permanent foundation must have a form survey completed prior to building. This would eliminate, or hopefully eliminate, any further setback issues or any other issues that have to go with zoning and permitting. And I brought you two forms of this. One is for R4 only, which we believe that generally probably 80 to 90% of these accessory buildings going in will happen out in Oakwood Shores. That said, within a week of us looking at this permitting, we had a permit request for a very large accessory building here.
R1?
Yeah. So we thought it would be wise if we're going to go by the 10 by 12, maybe it should be applied across all zoning districts, not just R4. And that's what I bring before you, and we welcome any questions that you might have, council.
I don't know that I have any questions, but I would say that I'm in favor of all zoning districts. I think this is we try to limit our fees and permitting cost and everything, but I think it's evident tonight, if this step prevents a reoccurrence of what just happened, it'll be a small piece of insurance.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions?
We came to this conclusion, Mayor and Council, with consultation with the people who do our inspections now, and we think this is the best step moving forward to hopefully alleviate that.
Okay. Any other questions? Discussion? All right.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 22-494, amending Appendix B, Section 7, additional provisions to include accessory structures in all zoning districts.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion made by Councilmember Yarborough, seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Councilmember Johnson, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Yarborough, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Councilmember Escalante, how do you vote?
Aye.
And Councilmember Langford, how do you vote, sir?
Aye.
Okay, let the record reflect that all council members present voted in the affirmative. Motion carries. Okay. Discussion regarding current zoning ordinances.
Mayor and Council, this was brought forth in continuation of general discussion about setbacks, adherence to such, and what we wanted to do tonight is just provide a forum and a mechanism for council to openly discuss the ordinances and zoning ordinances, and again in all districts for general discussion. It should be known that we recodified in when did we recodify last? 2015?
Mm-hmm. They did a comprehensive zoning plan. They did a committee, and they just went through everything and then recodified.
And then 2 years ago, we went back through with the people who do our inspections, and we sat down and went through again all ordinances and zoning that went into play here. But that said, having talked with several council members over the past 2 weeks, I just thought it'd be a great time to open up discussion with no limits. What concerns you have, what direction you would like to see us go, and so forth. So, floor is open.
So I guess I'll start. I know I was one of the council members that wanted to have this discussion even further. I think I wanted something similar to Agenda A, but due to lack of timing and other reasons. So I've drafted a change to Ordinance 324-15, which are our Appendix B zoning ordinance. So I'll go ahead and pass that to all the council members now, just so you can see what I suggest in my discussion will be based on, really, for council to consider and suggest that staff move in this direction. And is directly related to the Clintons. It was something that was found where I truly believe that, if we can have a setback where our primary structures can be so close, that we shouldn't be so restrictive to allow the accessory buildings to have to be a further setback. I also feel that the city ordinance is, as the mayor said a couple times tonight, for the whole city, for this R4 district. It's for any future R4 district that we may have. And, if the current HOA in the city, or if there are ever any future HOAs in the city, It's my understanding they can restrict further as they please. They can have certain appearance standards as they please. But as city council, we should try to make it as open and least restrictive as possible as far as setbacks. Now, safety concerns, fire codes, utility easements, I don't think any of those are in play, or else the primary structures wouldn't be allowed to where they're allowed to be. So that's my thoughts on this. I did look at other jurisdictions. You know, they're not all called R4. Some are state districts. Some are, you know, a different R number based on how many different districts, you know, those cities have. A lot of them, I would say, are the same. Some of them are 25 foot. Some of them are more for side easements specifically. But a lot of times you'll find they're the same as the primary building. So that's why I think that this would, you know, I understand we've had code reviews. We've had, I don't know that they've been looked at with this scenario comes up, because we all know how hard that is to imagine all possibilities beforehand.
So I do know the Oakwood Shores HOA is on their current guidelines. They're actually updating, including a whole bunch of other stuff, but because of this, they're updating it to the 25 foot to make it mirror the city. So I think that would probably create some more avenues of confusion if now the HOA is going to mirror the current city ordinance and then we change it again. The possibility of confusion is going to lie there. Also in the front minimum setbacks, you know, we talked about an HOA can be more restrictive, they can't be more lax. The current provisions there in HOA on the board is 100 feet for the larger lots, and there's only a handful of lots that can have a 60-foot build line.
So yeah, I'm not following you, Rory.
Under front, your minimum setbacks as follows. You say front, scratching 60 to 50. The current HOA out in Oakwood Shores, from the vast majority of the lots, is already 100. So they're already doing the more
HOA guidelines.
Correct.
Okay.
So yeah. So we're kind of creating some more confusion now of the HOA is going to not even approve the home build if it's at 50. That it's going to flat out deny. Like I've seen tons of them like that before. Yeah. So as a city, if we go and then say no, it can be 50. Then it turns into this confusion.
Well, that confusion exists now. Then let's just take the side easements off the table. Then the front easement is 50 for the city, and y'all are at 100, right?
Correct.
So I mean, we already have that. So yeah, I mean that would. I see what you're saying. I mean, and if that's the case,
but you're saying this is just for an R4, and the only R4 district is Oakwood Shores.
Right, but I want to.
This changes just to accessory structure.
I'm talking about for future R4s too. I mean, that's the thing. This city ordinance would live if 2 years from now we were approached by a developer to create another R4 district. These would stand, and an HOA for Oakwood Shores could have completely different guidelines. That's I think the city's at 50 feet from the front now, and that's why that's proposed to go to 50.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So if the HOA is only going to 25 just to reflect what the city is doing, but, you know, why are they moving towards the more stringent side if they're only doing that just to make it a little bit streamlined? Yeah, just to alleviate confusion.
Correct.
But the city, you know, there's no rhyme or reason for the 25 rather than 50.
I mean, kind of like Christian said.
Yeah, our assumption is the HOA had inputted it originally.
Correct. And for the aesthetics of from my understanding from the past board members of the HOA, from talking to them about this, was to keep barns more behind the main residence, not parallel side by side, to try to keep it behind it as much as possible.
So weren't the deed restrictions put in place at the time of annexation in 2008?
I believe your deed restriction came first.
So if that was the goal of Oakwood Shores, is to have the barns at a further setback, why wasn't that included in the deed?
I believe the developer established that.
So, I mean, I guess that's where I'm just confused on.
Like, the whole neighborhood was developed prior to annexation. They finished the whole neighborhood before we even took it over.
Yeah, so at what point, who decided that it needed to be aesthetically pleasing to be 25?
Once the R4 zone was created, it supersedes any plats, any prior, so
wasn't
in
HOA, that was
2006
city.
is when it was done.
Yeah, but I thought the annexation and deed restrictions and all the plat and everything was done in 2008, after the ordinance was created.
For the neighborhood, no.
Yes.
Beforehand. Plat.
It was done
I
prior.
have a certified copy. of
Well, we have the plat that was,
Yeah.
that was filed with us when we annexed, yes, we have that.
Unfortunately, the conversation's gonna.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
It had,
To the council. If you have any other questions, you're more than welcome to bring it up.
That's not this agenda topic,
yeah.
but as far as zoning in general goes,
Yeah, so.
this specific zone
Yeah,
was
and-
adopted in '06 and recodified in '15. So that supersedes anything regardless of when it was originally done.
Yeah, so just another thing that I would have on the discussion of the zoning ordinance is that, the other R zones, I don't believe that they have a different setback for accessory structures.
Right, because their lots are much different. This is a completely different type of, the goal of this neighborhood was to not look like the more close together, like the plots. It's just different zone. It's why it wasn't zoned R1. If it was zoned R1, then yes, they would want it to look that way, but they created a whole zone to make it aesthetically different.
Yeah, so I guess that's my question is, what is the purpose of the zoning ordinance? Is it for aesthetics
It's,
or is it
it's
for?
not.
I mean, again, this is
It's
specific
off
to your
the-
issue, and we can't
Yeah.
talk about it. We can talk about
So,
just,
so what I would say to what Councilmember Rory was saying about, being parallel in barns is, if you can go with your main structure all the way up to 10% on the opposite line, then people can build within this ordinance already and completely have your barn showing it all the time, as many are out there.
I
Now the
agree.
front, yeah, no, just,
Yeah.
but the front setback is where I would say is what you're talking about, in having the front of your shop and the front of your house being even,
which is prohibited.
But if your shop was built as part of your house using the same materials of your house, say you had a big garage, that's allowed, right? That's part of your dwelling. That would be allowed within the,
But that's not accessory building, right?
but somebody was asking the question earlier if it was
Mike, I believe it has to be
here-
attached.
attached.
Yes.
And does it have to be the same material? Could you have an attached garage that was made out of different material? Like if your house was brick and your garage was,
Mine is attached and it's hardy, and the main residence is stone.
yeah. That's just for my own curiosity. Thank you.
And again, also we can consider, when we consider these things, there's also the issues of, okay, other effects on the people next door. I know 50% or 10% or 25 feet, 10% of the lot width not to exceed 25 feet. When you build, because we run into this regularly now with new subdivisions coming in, and we don't have, there's oftentimes the drainage is not the best in the world, and it affects the older residents or the other residents. So these are some of the things that we do need to consider in this, man. I'm not taking a side on it.
Can I get you to explain that to me, Mayor, how the drainage would be affected more by accessory building than the primary?
Well, either way, that's what I'm saying. The whole
Okay,
thing.
so I could give it to you, but
Right.
but we're saying currently the primary would be that close. So I just don't see how the drainage issue truly comes into play. Now, if you pushed everything further away from the property line, and got really restrictive, yes, that could prevent.
I'm saying that if the closer, looking at the slab, and the closer that slab is to the other person's property line, if it drains that way, is it going to back up on the other person's? do we have any idea of what it's going to do? I'm just saying these are things that we need to take into consideration because
And there
building.
is a current civil dispute right now in the Oakwood Shores neighborhood with one homeowner that built his property up to the highest level possible next to his neighbor, and now that neighbor that's on the lower side is having drainage issues that they never had, and it's turning into a civil legal matter between the both of them.
Are those not building restrictions that are required now anyway? After Harvey?
To the base flood elevation went up. Yeah, but they went up.
So all the residents are gonna be at a drainage risk anyway from any new build. Is that not correct?
Yep.
Would it behoove us to, and this is just food for thought with council, would it behoove us to maybe have a workshop with the HOA board and to sit down and maybe find common ground before everybody's changing ordinances and changing variances and changing this, and we're all going in different directions? I think that would create even more confusion going down the road.
I think that would be good.
I think it would be
Yeah, if
great.
that's all they want to do is match the city by their intent of trying to update their standards now and avoid confusion, I think so. But
But future R4s, you know, if that were to ever happen, may or may not have a HOA.
Yeah.
Everyone.
or won't have the
All new
same
developments are
HOA.
required
I
to have
mean,
HOA, just so you know.
we all hear stories.
All new developments in the city are required to have HOA.
Okay, so we,
Yeah.
I mean, but the HOAs can be vastly different.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we see that in urban areas now.
The land for
Yeah.
the neighborhood.
And the water.
And the water and the sewer and the.
And I just think, I think maybe meeting with the HOA and city representatives would maybe kind of narrow the scope a little bit and help us get on the same page instead of us writing one set of ordinances and the HOA board writing another. That I think what we're trying to do, the scope of this is to alleviate confusion and not create more. And I think if we go unilaterally tonight and off in one direction, the HOA may think we're going in another direction and try to, if council would like to do that, maybe we can get with the HOA board and have a workshop maybe before the next council meeting or after, and meet with the board and be glad to do that. I just think we work better as a cohesive unit than on our own.
I think that's a great idea.
I certainly think it warrants further discussion and a coming of the minds with HOA.
Yeah.
Just this can't be allowed to occur again.
Yeah, agreed. Pat, you good?
Yep, I mean, that's the direction council wants to go, so.
Okay, we can make that happen. I'll get with the board and see if we can just do this before or after the next council meeting.
Okay. All right. Moving on to item 7. Capital improvements projects update.
Good evening. So with our, moving forward with our north water plant, on the tank coatings are complete. Final walkthrough for the tank was done on July 8th. We had a very small punch list, minimal items, most of it included debris on the site. The contractor has provided a date that all the debris will be removed within 2 to 3 weeks. And disinfection of that tank will take place at a later date, definitely before it goes in service. The booster, North Water Plant booster pumping station is still continuing to review shop drawing submittals. We received the TxDOT approval for the drive, and the contractor should be mobilizing within about a week and a half. On the CDBG, the Walnut and Cedar Street water line replacement, construction was completed July 5th, and project closeout documentation is being assembled right now.
stormwater master plan drainage improvements. East ditch remains in progress. They're roughly about 400 to 500 feet from the Audubon Woods Drive culverts there heading south. So the CDBG COGMOD, we had a meeting with public management to discuss the low to moderate income qualifications of the target area. This target area being Quail Run, Four Oaks, and Briar Creek. We're currently in the process of trying to retrieve tabulated surveys from the DR sewer line project to provide to them. Those surveys are good for 5 years, so it would be easier to requalify this area. They did tell us that a project, a supplemental project or a contingency plan is probably a good idea if for any reason we did face any issues with the LMI qualifications in this area. So we'll be developing that as well over the next couple of weeks. And as far as the ARPA grant goes, surveys for everything, being the generators and south water plant, should be completed within a week or so, and moving forward. Any questions?
Good progress.
Yeah, thank you.
So the drainage is going well. The main drainage, I saw there was some social media concerns of the other subdivision that
Sure.
I think we, as a city, were able to answer those questions with them, and it's not like this just appeared overnight. It's been a long process that took years and years in the making.
I feel confident, but I feel most of that was based on confusion. Okay. And I don't want to sound nasty, I'm not saying it, but ignorance, not knowing the facts, not knowing what the project was actually supposed to do for the city of Richwood. But I think we've satisfied.
Because that flow was already heading that way.
Yes.
It's just now going to expedite it and let it drain better.
Correct. It's going to be more efficient drainage. But the bottom line, I think, one of the main concerns is where the ditch's outfall reaches the last culvert before it goes to either county or VDD. Those openings are only so big. They accept so much water, and they can't accept any more at any higher rate than what it's already going through. So
those didn't change.
Yeah, that didn't change. So I think we've explained ourselves well, and hopefully all those questions have been answered. No more concerns.
Has there been any update on the interlocal agreements with the county for FY 22 or 23 that we talked about for the remainder of the road?
Yeah, I hit him up about every 3 weeks, and we're still looking in August. He can't tell me really the first or the last, but it was originally the first part of August, but he's just telling me August right now.
And that's starting, or at least with the engineering? Oh, wow.
Yeah, starting. So depending on how far they get, it's probably going to be at least a couple months in the making for whatever streets they're going to complete within this calendar year anyway.
That's starting the 2.5 miles that's left at Oakwood Shore?
Correct.
But starting the guaranteed 1 point something miles with hopes of all of it. But.
So the interlocal agreement of Missouri County Precinct 1, and understandably so, they leave this wide open. If they can do more, they will do more. If they can complete the whole thing, they will complete the whole thing and not vacate the site. They'd probably rather do that than to leave and come back and do more. But we're really on their timeline. I think we have an understanding that we'd like to at least get to a certain point or an intersection, and the county has pretty much assured me that we'll get at least that. Full street, another part of another street to an intersection.
That's from a timeline perspective, right, Cliff? I mean, they can only work so fast. They have limited crews. They get called off for other higher priority things. But from a financial agreement of their equipment and labor, I mean, we get 2 miles every 2 years, right?
That's correct.
So, I mean, we can't do much about timeline. I understand they can move to higher priority things and different things. But are we still on track to get the full 2 miles?
In the okay, well, within 2 years.
Yeah.
See, the issue, the 2.5 or 2 3/4 miles, whatever it is, within 2 years. The issue is we're using the interlocal agreement for what it's not designed to be used for, which is full reconstruction of roads. And in that, we're having to give a little bit to get a little bit. And they're willing to work with us, very much so, but it's, they're just trying to emphasize that it's heavy on the crews to reconstruct roads from the bottom up. And if we can allow them a little bit more time, they tell us they will get the work done for us.
No, I forgot about that part.
Yeah,
the interlocal agreement doesn't agree.
It was just overlay. Yeah.
So what about finances from the city standpoint? Are we good to continue funding the materials?
Mm-hmm.
Currently, right now, yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Cliff.
Thank you.
Okay. City manager report.
Mayor, council, pretty much a regurgitation of Friday's city manager's report. Final staff budget meetings were held last week. We're finalizing the budget now, getting ready for the workshop. We're really looking forward to that. Got the zoning ordinance done. Thank you. We appreciate that tonight. We've updated the website for the Debt Star application. There were some projects we needed to get up there. We've got those up there now. Cliff talked about the CDBG MIT grant. Working on the AT&T overbilling issue. We're still working on that. That's going to be a long and arduous process, but Philip's helping us with that as well. We're making progress on it. All-American Night went great. Thank you to the police and fire department and staff on that. Everything worked out great. Made public notice today for power conservation from ERCOT on possible outages, and then also the outages possibly Thursday for a completely different reason. This is power line restoration going on off 2004. There'll be intermittent or possible intermittent power failures throughout the day on Thursday. They're not connected whatsoever. Cliff also talked today. We're talking about higher than normal water usage. Our intake is a lot greater than it has been. So, had Cliff check with other cities around us. Their uptake from BRAs also are way up. We're just keeping an eye on that. We're trying to pump as much as we can out of our wells, but we're exceeding 100,000 gallons more a day than we need to. So we're aware of that, but we've made postings asking for water conservation due to the drought, and I think sometimes that just makes people water more. I really do. They want to save their yards, and so we just pray for rain. And again, Cliff's working on some pumping issues, but keep in mind we have 2 wells that are active right now, so we're a blended system. So we have fresh water coming from the wells, and we have fresh water that we buy. The perfect mix is what, 50-50, 60-40-ish?
Yeah, ish.
And once the demand hits, our wells can't keep up. One of our wells is on an automatic system that will automatically feed the water, and the other is a manual system. You can't overcharge the system, or you'll overfeed the lines. It's a very complicated process, so we're trying to get through that as best we can. I just want to make council aware that we're using a lot of water. I think we've used 17 million gallons for June.
Yes.
That's way more than ever have been. So
we've actually been over.
Yeah.
Almost every month.
Yeah.
From BWA.
Yeah. It's just been a very dry season. Very, very dry. So that's all I've got.
If we go to stage 3, the BWA is going to cut it off.
We have the option to, we have 2 wells in good working condition. We have the option to use those wells, and we'll continue to use them. One of the issues is just having one on automatic system, so you're alternating between BWA and booster pumps in one well. That's all you have. we see higher rates from BWA, I think it's probably because the head pressure pumping gets more head, and also demand as it gets to the elevated towers. So it's a delicate balance. If we won't run one too much, we take away from chlorine residual on the other side of town, and vice versa. So we're just trying to find a good balance with the usage as high as it's been, because we've never seen this before. We had this under control up to about a year ago, and all of a sudden it's just spun out of control, and the usage is just through the roof.
Well, hopefully before anybody gets cut off, and if I hear the word cut off, they're going to be hearing from me. Dow and BWA can get water. BWA has contingency fund. Dow also buys water from Brazos River Authority, have it sent down. So before we get to that point, we better. I'm hoping that Dow and BWA get on the stick and start getting some water sent down from Brazos River Authority.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we're going, it's not that they're gonna cut you off, but it's, the surcharge is an extra fee.
Yeah.
I've never seen it cut off yet.
Yeah. No.
And we've been through some, I know I went 10 years, went through some pretty tight times. So.
I agree, and I don't mean to interrupt your report, Aaron.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I know.
You know, our main concern right now is that, you know, our water rates cover a certain rate structure. So we're contracted for 235,000 gallons a day. It's a take-or-pay situation. When we exceed that on an average, daily average, we pay a premium price for that water. It's a higher rate than what we're paying now, not that much higher, but higher nonetheless. When you're talking 20,000 gallons, it's not that big a deal. When you're talking 100, 140,000 gallons, it starts to become far more noticeable. So we really want to try, our main goal is to try to keep that at the 235,000.
Right.
You know, and stay in good standing with everybody.
Right.
All the way around in our budget. So that's our
Do we have any data clips shows how or where we're using so much more?
No, we have BWA water coming in. We have the reading off of our wells. We have a combined usage, and then we have a city usage, basically what passes through meters. And there's always a difference in that. But that's the data we have. Unless we get into the different categories, being residential, because there's 5, I think, residential, commercial, multifamily, institutional. We could see possibly where there's an uptick there, but we don't. The usage is there.
We want to talk about the water.
Yeah, this is a
Probably
discussion
Yeah,
now.
this is-
We're way out of
Sorry,
out of
we can
order.
probably put it on the next agenda. This is just-
Okay, Eric.
That's it.
Okay. All right, mayor's report. Or excuse me, council member and comments reports. Councilmember Johnson.
Okay, I got a couple things. First off, attended the KRB meeting last week. Everything went good. Saw the same presentation. Very proud of them for all their work. Kimberly did a good job. Thank you. All American Night was a success. Great. Real good. Appreciate it. And then I saw the Public Works lunch. I was jealous I didn't get invited. Looked like it was a great turnout. And just to reiterate, everybody keep Gary Ellis and Janet in their prayers and thoughts. Chief, keep sending out those police reports. It's pretty good. There's good information, and also appreciate the fire department work out there. I know that couldn't have been fun out there at the landfill and the other stuff that they've been doing. I'm sure all the bunker gear had to get washed after that. So, thank you. Thank you for everybody's efforts.
Okay, Matt.
I'm good.
Roy.
Kind of what we said to bring up the water topic for next meeting. I'd like to kind of explore that and see if there's a relation with our sewer as well. If we're using that much water, I would figure there would be an uptick in sewer as well. But if there's not, then maybe we have a meter problem. We have where's this water going if we don't have an increased sewer?
It could be leaks. It could be water in your grass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Are we in that brings up a question. Sorry, sir. Are we in a no water right now?
No water, but we're very close.
Okay.
We posted the drought notice.
Have enough to.
Thank you, sir. Okay, mayor's report. 28th is coming up. Be looking at, I'll be going to the TCQ meeting on the proposed trailer park out on 223 or 220, and we'll speak. And anyone else, I guess, that wants to. I'm trying to prepare some information talking about the title. Well, I can't think of the word now, but the effect on the Bastrop Bayou. It's something that does border our city. It's something that is part of our ecological makeup, if you would like to call it that. And so we definitely should be there, so I will be there. And we'll try to speak to the TCQ and, again, state the reasons why we think that it's not appropriate for the area at this time. As I usually say, it's hurricane season. Be ready, be prepared. Urge all the citizens and the city as well to have any kind of preparedness or pre-preparedness steps taken. Fire department, guys, I've lived here since 1983, and I've seen, and being a fireman, I've never seen the amount of calls and work that these guys have been doing, in the past. It seemed like over the last 2 or 3 months, they're averaging at least 5 calls a week, if not more. Backing up other departments, backing up or spending a lot of time out there at the landfill. And so y'all are definitely, it's all appreciated. And I feel for you because it's hot out there. And so y'all take care, and hopefully we can get more citizens involved in the fire department as well. Police department, I like those reports too, Chief. And Public Works, Cliff, y'all killing it out there, especially working on as fast as y'all got the water mains repairs taken care of.
Killing themselves.
Yeah. Speaking of Public Works as well, I received an email the other day from a citizen over on Quail Run, Mr. Morris, who would like to thank everyone for the hard work that they've done on the drainage in that area, because they had a rainstorm and he didn't see the pond that he normally saw in his street. I told him that that's one of our priorities. We're trying to focus on making sure, throughout, that sooner or later we'll have our city draining a lot better. And again, y'all have spoke about the issues with the questions on social media and about the drainage system. I know I've fielded several myself, had some side contacts on Messenger about them, and there's folks that are worried that now that we have concrete that we're limiting the amount of water that can absorb in there, but it's not going to stay in there that fast. And as much as it hadn't rained here, it's going to absorb a lot. But I appreciate those comments, and as I always do, any of the citizens that have any questions or concerns, they're welcome to contact me, and I will If I don't have an answer, I'll get an answer for them. KRB, God bless you all. Trish, Financial Department, and Kirsten, no, and the Judicial. Everybody's doing a heck of a job. Thank you. And that's it for me. So what do we have in the way of it? Well, I think we've already got one future agenda item, or two. Anything else?
August, we'll see the first public hearing for tax consideration, and
We're gonna meet next Monday for budget talks, and then, yes, public hearing is set for our meeting in August.
I don't have
I can pull it real quick.
We're having a council meeting next Monday?
Budget workshop.
Budget workshop.
the, you will all have a copy.
It was on that calendar that was sent out.
Anything else? Okay. It is 7:59. We are adjourned.